The US, Italy, and now a notorious prison in Iraq used by Saddam Hussein. All venues for an exhibition of these amazing pictures of Kurdish fighters and Yazidi women. They've been taken by my next guest, Joey Lawrence, who spent 4 years travelling to the region, all before last month's military offensive by Turkey against the Kurds in northeast Syria. He joins me live from Sulaymaniyah. And Joey, welcome here to the programme. You say you're not a war photographer, so how would you describe what you actually do?
Hey, greetings from Iraqi Kurdistan. I started my career actually as a portrait photographer, doing projects on minority cultural groups, endangered languages. So the story in Kurdistan actually had a really similar story. What brought me here was the struggle of Kurds against an oppressor, against a regime that tried to ban their language, ban their cultural activities. And that's how I approached it. So the war just kind of went into the background of the photos, and in the foreground, of course, is still portraits of people.
There are so many stunning images. We've got some on the screen at the moment. Each one, of course, with photographers, they always tell a story. Tell me about the woman, the picture actually is on the front cover of your book. Tell me about that.
So this is a young Yazidi fighter named Afrin. She was displaced in ISIS's 2014 assault on the Sinjar region. And a lot of Yazidis had to flee their home, and thousands were saved by YPG and also HPG. These are Kurdish fighters who entered the region and evacuated thousands of Yazidi families. And people like Evrim sat in a refugee camp and decided to take up arms, or was recruited to take up arms against ISIS and fight back for her home. So there's a lot of stories like that that you can find in the region that are just simply incredible, and almost like a movie, to be honest.
And you have to spend time with people to actually flesh out these stories. How long did you spend with the Kurds, and actually what did you take away from that experience?
Well, the work was created over 4 different trips, starting in March 2015. The shortest trip was 2 weeks, and the longest trip was over 40 days. And I have to say, as a portrait photographer, our job is to humanize people and get to know people so we can present them in an accurate way. So you become quite close to these fighters, and it's devastating what's happening now in Syria and Kurdistan. Looking back at when I was there, I was at the height of their power, fighting ISIS.
I'll come back to what is happening now, but I wanted to just put on our screen some of the pictures you took from drones, because you used them very cleverly to actually frame the venue where you are, a prison used by Saddam near Sulaymaniyah. Why did you decide to actually have your exhibition there? Tell me about that.
That's right. You can actually, you can feel the history of this building. This is where Saddam's intelligence apparatus and prison guards used to torture Kurdish and Iraqi civilians. Since it was liberated by Peshmerga so many years ago, it's become a museum. So now we're very proud to hang these photos of Kurdish fighters who are resisting other dictators at this time. So the local community here is really, really excited about that.
Just tell me then your take on what has happened in the last few weeks to the Kurds.
Honestly, I think it's a stain on humanity. It doesn't matter what political party you come from. It seems that every single person in the whole world is almost against this invasion into Syria by Turkey and its allied rebel forces. We already have proof of what happened early in 2018 when they entered Afrin, so we don't have to speculate. We can see ethnic cleansing, forced displacements, and a whole bunch of war crimes. The difference between now and then is back then the whole world was silent, but nowadays it seems everybody has heard of these fighters.
Just a final question then. Do you know, you made such close connections with so many people, do you know what has happened to them? And what do you think will actually happen? Will they continue to fight? Will you continue to try to go back and photograph more?
Well, a lot of these fighters, unfortunately, in the book have been killed and passed on. I mean, a lot of them are frontline fighters, and against ISIS, they're fighting against the army that has no air force. But against these Turkish-backed proxies, these are really well-trained and brave fighters, but they can't do anything against Turkey's air force. So it's not only the fighters, it's also the civilians who live in those areas that are suffering under this campaign. As for plans for me going back, I mean, I'm not sure if I should broadcast that live on the BBC, but as you know, I'm in the Iraqi side of Kurdistan. I'm very close, and I would love to see the Rojava revolution one more time.
Well, Joey Lawrence, thank you so much for taking time to speak to us on the programme. Your pictures are absolutely stunning. Thank you so much for joining us on Today's Global.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.